All right, this is going to be episode 2 on the BSA A65 fork rebuild. This is on a 1967 model. So anyway, if you like this, I might as well mention this now. Please click like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Well, yabba dabba doo. Look what came in the mail this morning. That's my bushings for those BSA forks right there. So I'll be able to put them back together. These are Wassel products. They're supposed to be made in the UK, but Lord only knows where they're actually made. And it doesn't matter. These are good quality things. I've never had a trouble with Wassel products. Anyway, these ones I ordered from Classic British Spares, or CBS, down in California. It only took a week for them to get here. I ordered on the 20th of February, and this is the 27th. Like, I'm used to finding things that I order from the States in my mailbox like 3 weeks later. But, of course, I also got dinged by the Canadian government for taxes. They call it goods and services tax. I call it extortion, because these things were bought in the United States with U.S. funds and shipped by the U.S. postal system. So I didn't hire Canadian services or companies for any of this stuff, and yet the Canadian government charges me 15% in taxes on these, and there's no way you can get around it. If you don't pay it, then Vinnie and Carmine just keep your parts, right? So anyways, I've got them, so now I can get on with putting those things back together. Okay, bushings here. It's time to start putting those forks together. First thing to do is to get the new seals and the new seal holders out. This is pretty straightforward. All I'm going to do, reasonably clean, to set that on. Make sure there's nothing in there that isn't supposed to be there. I've already tried these on over these fork tubes here. So now, it's a matter of putting those in there. I've got a series of different little seal drivers up here, all sorts of different sizes and that. That's a little bit on the big side for that. I'll find something here anyway to knock them in with. All you do is you want to grease these up. Make sure that garter spring there is on the inward facing side of the seal. You don't want to put it in that way because it wouldn't function properly. The top part of that seal is what's called a dust seal. It's kind of keep the dirt and dust out of there. And this part here with the garter spring around it is what actually does the sealing against the fork leg. So I'm going to get a bit of grease, put it on these, offer them up, knock them down in place, and meanwhile I'll put you on pause. Okay. Take a little bit of that 3GP axle grease, put it on the threads here, because they're going to cause an issue with that seal going in. And we'll grease up the area where the seal actually sits when it's all the way home. And just to make sure that everybody's got lots of grease, I'll put some on the seal itself. Okay, and of course that, going to go in that way, push that gently down in there, carefully as we can. That's an ugly looking piece of stuff. It was an old, it's an old pipe coupling, but anyway, it'll do the job as a seal driver. So I'm just going to set a nice square block on top of that so I can carefully knock that down into place. And then actually, if you get that down in there, 3-4 threads, you can use the fork itself to push the seal up into place. That's probably what I'm going to do here. Stand by, I'll put you on pause again. Okay, that last section there, I don't think I had the camera pointed in the right direction. Anyway, all these threads and the seal itself, I've got some nice 3GP grease on there to help that go into place. And I'm just going to take that ugly old thing, and that's been a seal driver for years. It was an old pipe bushing. So I'm just going to put that on there, and I will knock my seal down in. A little block on there so I can tap it gently with the hammer. You could even use press to do this if you wanted to. But as soon as I get about 4 threads showing here, I'm going to use the fork to actually push the seal down into place. So I'll show you how I go about doing that as soon as I get that down in there just a little bit further. Okay, now like I said, I'm just going to screw these on over the forks there to push the seals all the way up into the bottom. And I can feel it going in there now. Yeah, that's it. Metal to metal there. So that's as far as that's going. I might get a little bit more on them when I have the bushings in place and stuff. There's the seal. And some grease all up in place there. So now I'll do the other one. Okay, now see there's the second one. I've got the seal pushed in there with my thumbs. A little bit of resistance against the threads there, but now I'm just going to take this little block of metal. Just give that a little tap on there. Get that started in there well. Yeah, good. Okay, by the way, that's not the seal driver I started with. I wasn't happy with the fit in there. Was a little looser than this one. Like this one's a nice snug fit. It doesn't touch the threads, but it does make sure that it grabs the edge of the seal when you're knocking it in. So now I'll take the other fork. Oh geez, there they go. All right, and I lost my brand new soft jaw. All right. Yeah, I had to make a new pair of those because I never did find that other old soft jaw, and these were getting beat up anyway. So anyway, it was time for a new one. So let's get this on there. Just want to make sure that the camera's pointed in the right direction. There we go. All right, same idea with this one. Slide that on over there. Carefully thread that on, make sure you don't cross thread it. That would be bad. And then just going to tighten this down. You feel it pushing the seal in. There we go, I can feel it now. And it's going in there nicely. And there she's bottomed out. So that is the new seals and the seal holders. Put it in. So those are all set to go. Put the box over here. I'll just keep the grease handy. I may still have good use for that. And next, I'm going to put the tubes in the soft jaws here and get those ready for assembly. So there's one thing you want to pay attention to is right down here on this end. When you put the seals on that very sharp edge, you could damage the seals. So the best thing to do, take a little bit of electrical tape or something, just one turn around there will be enough to form a nice edge on there so that you can get the seal on there without causing any damage to it. So the very first thing I'm going to do, like I said, one kind of electrical tape around here. Pull the tape a little bit tight, that way you get a bit of a tapered edge there to help you get that on. Get my wire cutters, snip that off. There. Now, those seal holders are ready to go on over the fork. So, already wiped them off good. A little bit of grease on there. A little bit of grease makes everything better. So, again, grease up these. Those new seals are all nice and slippery. And they go on this way. Kind of help a little bit there. With your finger sometimes to help get that up. And then just slip that up over there. Now I can take that piece of tape off because I don't need it anymore. And just let me get that off of there, and then I'll slide the bushings up in place. Now, I'm trying to get everything on here in the right order. These funny little cup affairs go on there next. I'm just going to slide that up in that seal holder for now. There's a nice shiny new upper bushing. Don't forget that the lip on that upper bushing goes upward if you were looking at it before. And I'll put a little bit of, heck with a little bit, let's put lots of grease in there. Lubrication, something like this never hurts a bit. So lots of grease on that fork tube as well. I've already had these fitted on here, and I'm telling you, the fit compared to the old bushings is just so nice. So nice, yeah. So that's up on there. The next thing to go on will be the lower bushing. And of course, there's only one way you can get them on, because there's an inner lip right there. So again, a little grease doesn't hurt a darn thing. Remember if I'm forgetting anything while I'm doing this. Oh, I wanted to mention, sometimes you get a burr right here around this bottom edge. Take a file if you have any burrs there and remove them, or you won't be able to get the bushings on because they're that snug. Okay, there's that there. So now there's a little bit of a juggling act, because nuts retain that lower bushing, and the associated washer go on there next. So there's the washer, there's the nut. It really wouldn't hurt a darn bit to put a little bit of like a blue thread locking compound on there, just to make sure that's not ever going to come apart on you. I really don't think it would, but I'm just going to go over to my glue drawer and find my blue thread lock. I'll be right back. Okay, so here I am again with the old blue thread lock. Don't want much, just a drop. That's all it takes, just a little drop. And this, screw in there like that. And grab this compressor wrench here. Make sure I've got that fork tightened up well in there. Okay, that's nice and tight. Now, the next thing that goes on is the lower leg, but that rubber is going to give me a bit of trouble, so I'm just going to take that nut and rubber off of there so I can slide that right up through without having to force that rubber up through the that bottom piece there. So bear with me while I do that. Put you on pause again. Okay, now before I put the fork tube in, I'm going to do this. They tell you in the books to use a piece of string and put it in this lower groove here. Well, as far as I'm concerned, string went out with the caveman. This is a bit of 3M thread tape. So I'm going to fill that groove with this. I might need a little bit more. I pulled that one a bit short. All right, let's get that right there. Around one more time. All right, there. I know that's going to work. So you can see that I filled the groove up with that Teflon tape there. Again, I'm going to just grab a little piece of this. It's like a Q-tip, sort of. Now I'm going to put a little bit of grease down in there before I put the bushing down in. That way, there will be lubrication there before the fork oil goes in. So, hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. If I have, I'll come back and tell you that, oops, I've made a mistake, and that should fit right down in there like that. Then, top bushing goes in. Then that top piece goes into the top bushing and holds all that together. And then, say, make sure you do not cross thread this. If it does not go on easily, then stop and find out why. Now, let's get this down over there. We can squish out some of that Teflon tape. All right, everything's looking good there so far. All right. Now I'm going to go get that that tool that I made up and try that out. See if I think it works any better than the old strap wrench on there. So let's see. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to fiddle around and get those two tongs in the grooves there. And if I'm having too much trouble with it, I'll just give up and use the old strap wrench on it. Come on, I know you're awful close there. I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to put you on pause again for a second. Okay, that was a bit of a struggle, but I did get the tool down into the grooves in the seal holder. I can put my, speaking of caveman stuff, my old monkey wrench on there. And turn that till I feel her come up metal to metal. And that, my friends, is what you call tight. So, alright. So that worked pretty good. Yeah, and I do not think that those will leak because I've compressed that tape quite a bit. So, on with the next one. Well, funny story. It just goes to show that everyone makes mistakes, and some of them are pretty stupid, like the one I just made. I couldn't find that nut and washer off this in this box here anywhere. And I thought, well, where is it on the bench? Anyway, I picked up the left fork tube there, and I turned it upside down, and I could hear clink, clunk, clink, clunk. And I thought, no, I didn't put that at the bottom of that, did I? Sure enough, I took the left fork apart again, and there was the nut and washer laying in the bottom of that one. Honestly, my mind must have been somewhere else when I did that, because I have no memory of doing that at all. But sometimes, even if someone who's been doing this for 50 bloody years can still can still make a mistake. So if you make a mistake, laugh about it because mistakes happen. All right, this is the second one, of course. I'm ready to put that into the lower leg now. At least I think I am anyway. So I'm gonna clamp that one in the vise. Again, I'm gonna tape this up with put a bunch of Teflon tape, especially in that groove, because I have a thicker variety and a thinner variety, but the thicker one will obviously take a lot less turns to fill that groove in than the thin stuff. So I'm going to carry on with that, screw that together, and I'll show you what I've got when I'm finished. Okay, well, somehow or other I lost the last clip where I was putting the finishing touches on this one. So I'll just show you what I do on the next one. So anyway, why the piece of string hanging on that damper rod? Well, it's a little bit tricky putting these things together, and especially with transport and all that sort of thing. Now, I'm just going to set you here, don't you fall off and bang anything up while I get out the top nut that goes on here. These are, like I said before, these are a little bit like the road holders, in that this top nut screws on the top of that damper rod. Now, of course, you can't use the fork puller to get this up through if the fork nut's in the way. So you have to get the fork nut out of the way, push that whole damper rod assembly down into the fork, but then, especially with that rubber ring on the top, it can be really hard to get that damper rod back out again so you can screw the nut on like this, right? So this is why I've got the piece of string on there, so that when these forks are being installed and that sort of thing, you can just push that damper rod down in there, tuck the string away down in there, and then when he's got the forks pulled up into position, all he's got to do is screw the nut on the end of the damper rod and then screw the nut down into the fork tube itself. Very, very similar to what you would do with a Norton Commando. So I'm just gonna loosely screw that in there for now, because it's gonna have to come out someday. And these particular ones are alloy, so if they don't screw in easy, stop and find out why, or you'll mess them up. Anyway, that's the first fork out of the way. So I'll show you the final assembly steps for the forks with the left fork here now. Stand by, I'll put you on pause. Okay, we'll start again. On these ones, you have a little aluminum washer that drops down there. That's for the spring to sit on, so you drop that. I like to look at the springs. If one side has tighter coils than the other, I kind of like to put them facing downward. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll just drop that in there. Worry about pulling that string out of there later. Okay, that should take care of that. Now, the other nice new gator shouldn't give me too much trouble going on there. So, again, I'm just going to leave that string in there kind of like that. Just shove this down over there, pull the string out. And all you got to do then is convince the bottom of that gator to go down over the fork seal holder, and it's usually not too much trouble. I don't like to grease these because it makes them want to slip up and down too much. But anyway, that's it. Like I said before, now I'm going to just tuck that damper rod down in there and I'll put the nut on the top in order to keep the dust and dirt and the bats and mice out of there. Okay, just like the last one, I've tucked the string and the damper rod down in the top there so that he can pull that damper rod out of there with that nice cord. And where is that other nice new, there it is, the other nice new fork crown nut is right there. Again, these ones screw on, they screw into the damper rod screws into here, and then that screws into the rod. And I'll say it again, do not force those nuts in there. They should screw in easily. If they don't screw in easily, then find out why. All right, there we go. I've had both of these in here, by the way, so I know they already do screw in. So, that's it for those. Let me think now, is there anything else I was going to do? Oh, yes, I wanted to mention, to get these up through the fork yokes, you use a special puller that screws into this threaded section right here and draws the forks up through into the yokes, right? It is possible to get these together a different way, but I don't want to talk about that because it's not really how you're supposed to do it. I mean, you can take the top yoke off your forks and just kind of push that up through by hand and then assemble the headlight ears over the top of that, but that's not really how you're supposed to do it. If you ever need to make a fork puller unit, if you don't happen to have a set, they're not very expensive, and they come with all different sort of adapters for all different sizes of forks and different types of bikes and everything. So anyway, if you have an old set of fork caps, you can use the old set of fork caps, just grind away, or if you're lucky enough to have a lathe, just cut away this part where the wrench would go on it. Get rid of that, so you can screw that in, and it's the same diameter as the top of the fork. Then weld a piece of, say, threaded rod like that to the top, and then you can use that threaded rod to pull your forks up through. It's almost exactly what you would buy if you bought the puller kit. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up this little video for these fork tubes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope somebody can use it to help them assemble their forks. Like I say, these are the what I call the middle years for these forks. They're a little bit more difficult to deal with than the older type ones were. The older ones didn't have a damper rod inside them, so they were a whole lot easier to get together. That's what these fork caps are for. You see there's no threaded end in there. They just screw on the top. They would be for the older type forks without the damper rod. And the newer type of forks are what you would find on an oil and frame Triumph or an oil and frame BSA. It was the same fork, right? Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from it. If I've made any mistakes and need to be corrected, please leave something in the comments, or if you have any questions or suggestions or anything like that, go ahead, give me a shout. You can like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing would be really great because it really helps the channel out. So if you like this kind of stuff, this this out in the shop with an old hillbilly kind of thing, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.